What's up, you beautiful people? Tosh here. We've got some really exciting things going on in DeFi Kingdoms world. The perilous journey is about to end. We're about to come back from that in just 2 days. I'm personally really excited to see which of my heroes make it and what kind of rewards that we get through that. As well as there's been some exciting announcements about CrystalVale. We have an official launch date now at March 30th. With that release of information, we also got information that DFK is going to have its own chain or subnet on Avalanche's blockchain. So that means it's going to be feed off of the main chain from Avalanche, but everything is actually going to be DFK centered on the DFK chain there where CrystalVale will be hosted. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about that, to go through some of the myths and rumors about that as well, and talk about speculation and how this is going to affect the ecosystem overall. Just a reminder, there is no financial advice here. This is educational content only. All right, so let's hop right into it. So DeFi Kingdoms, CrystalVale is going to be launched on Avalanche's DFK Subnet chain. So this is going to be a blockchain that's exclusively made for DeFi Kingdoms. Note that this does not mean that everything from DeFi Kingdoms is going onto this new blockchain. It's just that CrystalVale is going to be there. So everything that's currently on Harmony, or what we call Serendale, is going to remain there. During this video, I'm going to go through this article that talks about this whole subnet, and it has some links for some additional information if you're trying to dive deeper. Link to that is in the description. But first of all, let's talk about why there is going to be a subnet. So one of the big advantages of having the subnet is that it's completely separate from the main blockchains. So right now with Harmony, like, we're facing a lot of issues with the RPCs that are potentially slowing things down very often. With our own blockchain, we're going to have all of our own accessories that are going to be just for DeFi Kingdoms. We don't have to worry about what the rest of the ecosystem is doing. Everything will be more manageable and contained with what we're doing. So one of the huge differences between this blockchain and any other blockchain is that Joule is actually going to be used as the gas token for any transactions that are made on this chain. This is super exciting because it's going to provide additional utility for Joule, which should increase the price and buy pressure of it because we're going to need it to do anything on Avalanche. We'll see where those transaction amounts line up. I would assume that they would be slightly higher in USD value as compared to Harmony, but really we have to see what's happening before we can make that claim. So with this, the Joule that's being provided for the gas fees is going to go in a couple different ways. First of all, it's going to go to some of the validators that help secure that node, and we'll talk about more of that later. Second is that some of this is going to be burned. This is going to add a deflationary mechanism into Joule. I'm really curious about what that percentage is that is going to be burned. I'm assuming that's only going to be a small percent, maybe 2 to 5% max, but potentially we could see even higher amounts, so we'll see. And then lastly, a portion of this is going to be sent to the Quest Fund. The Quest Fund is what supplies the Joule for all of the gardening rewards. So if that Quest Fund gets bigger, that means all of our gardening rewards will get bigger over time as well. Okay, this is the part of the article that I was most excited about, so let's get ready. I think this is incredibly bullish. The DFK Outposts. So these outposts are going to be on-ramps into DeFi Kingdoms chain to help people move their funds initially over to this DFK chain. There's going to initially be an outpost on Avalanche, so people will be able to very easily move their funds from Avalanche over to DFK chain. And looks like that they're also planning on adding some of these outposts into other chains that aren't on AVAX, so we can get their funds onto DFK chain more easily. Also, let's look at this last part here. So the outposts will have the fiat on-ramp integrated to help with the local chain gas fees, tutorials, and RPC switch. So this is crazy. This means that people will be able to go directly from the money into their bank accounts right into DeFi Kingdoms and buy Joule right on Crystal, right on the DFK chain. I think this is absolutely insane. People will no longer have to go through centralized exchanges such as Crypto.com, Binance, or KuCoin to get their one over to the network. They can do this all through the DeFi Kingdoms app. So overall, the easier that it is for people to get their money onto something, the more accessible it is, the fewer steps there are, the more likely people are to invest into this. Sometimes even just using MetaMask is a big barrier to entry for a lot of people. So I love to see ways that we're actually reducing that barrier, and hopefully that we see the results that this is supposed to acquire. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about bridging. So again, DeFi Kingdoms blockchain is its very own blockchain, and we'll have to be able to move assets from Harmony and Avalanche to this new blockchain so we can interact with it. At the start, it looks like we're only going to be really able to bridge Joule, XJoule, or AVAX and the one token onto the new blockchain very easily, but it looks like those features are going to be expanding over time, and it looks like, again, I think they're going to be expanding into other blockchains so we can kind of unite the front and bring people into DeFi Kingdoms from all over the place. Let's talk about the validators for the DFK chain. So this, again, is going to be a subnet of Avalanche. So there are going to have to be validators that specifically are set to secure the DFK chain. Most of these are going to be people that are already validators. I think they're going to lean more towards people that are on Avalanche validators right now. And it is a requirement that you are an Avalanche validator to be a DFK Subnet validator as well. The current staking requirement for that is pretty steep at 2,000 AVAX. Right now at AVAX's current price, it's about over 130,000 USD that you have to lock up to become a validator. But if you are a bigger whale, this might be an option that is going to be helpful, especially if you're really invested into DeFi Kingdoms and want to do something that's going to help support the community and also create some passive income. So the validators, again, are going to receive a portion of all of the Joule gas fees that go into the subnet for transactions. If you've been playing DeFi Kingdoms recently, you know that there's tons of transactions that go into this game, and those are going to add up very quickly. We'll see what kind of percentages that those line up to as well, and I think that there's going to be different percentages for how much they're staking. It doesn't look like there is a public option to become a validator, but if you are highly invested and this is something that interests you, I'm sure if you talk to the right people that you might be able to find a way in. This one here is a huge relief that I mentioned earlier. So the DFK chain is going to have its own RPC nodes as well that are all going to be formatted and created specifically for this DeFi Kingdoms chain. So the RPC is how the app actually interacts with the blockchain. And we've noticed that on Harmony that sometimes there are some big delays in the RPC that can make transactions or questing not so fun. But with this one being specifically designed for the DeFi Kingdoms blockchain and the amount of transactions that are going to be occurring on this blockchain, I think this is going to be a much smoother thing for everyone in the long run. Last part of this is that Avalanche is actually putting an additional $15 million into incentives for the early phases of CrystalVale. This is to provide additional incentives for providing liquidity on the DFK chain. Half of this is going to be in Crystal and half of this is going to be in AVAX. It'll be really interesting if this is actually separated as extra emissions from our ice gardens. Our ice gardens, there's been minimal information about the numbers out there so far, but my next video is going to go over some of the speculation and numbers between that and whether we should keep our money in Serendale or if we should take the hike over with our money to go to CrystalVale. So stay tuned for that. The biggest misconception that I hear about the DFK chain is that we are leaving Harmony, or DeFi Kingdoms is leaving Harmony completely, and that is completely false. So everything that's built on Harmony, again, is going to remain here. All the 1,000 lands that are going to occur in or be distributed within Serendale are still going to be on the Harmony blockchain. Nothing is moving here. It's just that the DFK chain is going to host CrystalVale in particular. If we expand to other chains, then it's possible that there could be a new DFK chain on a different network, but I'm not sure what other networks are doing these kind of subnets right now. So we'll see what the future holds for that. Well, that about wraps it up for info on the DFK chain subnet for now. I think this is an incredibly bullish thing for DFK. Just the biggest thing I really think is that fiat onboarding and getting the easy onboarding from DFK into from other chains into DFK rather. So post your comments below about what you think are the implications of the CrystalVale expansion and what you're most excited about, and stay tuned for an info on the ice gardens that are coming up soon. All right, this is Tosh signing out. Laters.